Saddam Hussein has it within his hands, to end this crisis now.
This is the CBS Evening News, with Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. Fast-breaking news tonight about war and peace abroad and politics at home. U.S. military might is aimed, cocked, and ready to attack Saddam Hussein with the probability of a strike at any time now. Thus, the chief questions become, how hard a strike, aimed at what, for how long? More about that in just a moment. Also tonight, a settlement in the Paula Jones case against the president. She gets money but no apology. Special prosecutor Ken Starr brings new criminal charges to squeeze Clinton family friend Webb Hubbell again for damaging evidence. Starr also sends Congress new evidence for its impeach the president inquiry. But we begin our coverage tonight with the latest on Iraq. From CBS News national security correspondent David Martin. David?
Dan, it is becoming increasingly clear it is no longer a question of if the U.S. will strike Iraq, but when. And there are indications it will be sooner rather than later. With troops loading up and aircraft preparing to depart from bases across the United States, the Secretary of State today had a plain and unmistakable message for Saddam Hussein.
Iraq has a simple choice: reverse course or face the consequences. That is our position. No further warnings are needed.
And no further forces are needed in the Persian Gulf to launch strikes. Cruise missiles from ships and long-range bombers from the U.S. could start the attacks, and the stealth fighters and other aircraft getting ready to go could finish them. The aircraft now preparing to leave would roughly double the forces in the Gulf, and according to Defense Secretary KOIN, will get there next week.
It gives the president every flexibility as far as exercising options are concerned, but we continue to build the forces to give him as much flexibility as possible.
Saddam today issued his first public statement on the crisis. It was polite, but the bottom line is he will not let the UN weapons inspectors go back to work until he gets a promise to lift economic sanctions. The White House quickly rejected it.
There's nothing new in what he's saying. He's talking about an initiative based on his terms and based on his conditions.
President Clinton is still scheduled to leave for Asia tomorrow night, but the White House has drawn up plans to send Vice President Gore in his place. One more sign military action is near. Dan?
David Martin at the Pentagon. Thanks for his part. Saddam Hussein was playing for time today, pitching for delay, sounding conciliatory, without bringing anything to the table. CBS News correspondent Alan Pizzi is on the ground at Ground Zero in Baghdad.
In an apparent shift towards diplomacy, Saddam Hussein told the Russian ambassador here today that he would cooperate with any initiative that would help meet Iraq's demand for an end to sanctions. The Iraqi leader claimed he stopped UN weapons inspectors from working to highlight the sanctions issue, not to create a crisis. Quiet preparations for airstrikes are being made in Baghdad's hospitals, however. 2 days ago, staff were told to get ready for the possibility of civilian casualties.
We make, emergency team, we call it. This includes all the doctors. Now all the doctors need to sleep in this hospital 24 hours.
And more than 50 UN relief workers are staying on no matter what happens.
We are trying in a very politically very volatile environment to do work that has nothing to do with politics, but something to do with meeting basic needs of people.
As for the Iraqi people, neither the beat of war drums nor the whispers of diplomacy seem to move them. Iraqis have heard both too many times to feel like anything but victims. And they are convinced America has it in for them.
So why us? Because we have petrol? Why us? You told me, why us?
Iraqis know the answer, they just can't say it out loud. A Western diplomat here interpreted for them this way. Either the Iraqi regime is gambling it can win this one, he said, or they just don't give a damn. Probably a bit of both. Dan?
Alan Pizzi live in Baghdad. Joining us now is Buster Glosson, retired U.S. Air Force general, architect of the Gulf War, Air War, and CBS News analyst general. The president said today that the goal is to put Saddam Hussein in a position where he can no longer threaten. In an initial attack, what weapons would be used?
Dan, initially I would use the unmanned air and sea launched cruise missiles, the B-2, and the F-117 stealth aircraft.
With the primary targets being?
a focus on the research, production, and storage of the weapons of mass destruction. Specifically, facilities, and by that I mean the laboratories and the manufacturing plants where these killing agents are developed and produced, as well as the storage bunkers where they're kept. We must also knock out the equipment used in the research to make these deadly substances, the cooling units, distillers, and scientific apparatus. Additionally, we must eliminate the materials themselves, Dan, anthrax spores, botulism toxins, and VX nerve gas, to name a few. But we must also understand that there are legitimate businesses co-located that produce medicine. And so the bottom line here, Dan, if we attack the correct targets, there will be collateral damage.
By any reasonable analysis, General, right or wrong, if this is to be carried out in full, it would require additional attacks later on, perhaps later this year and well into next year.
You're absolutely correct.
General, thank you very much. More now about tonight's other breaking stories on several fronts of the president under fire. CBS's Phil Jones has the facts and late details on a deal to settle the Paula Jones case against the president. Phil?
Dan, it was on April Fool's Day that Paula Jones's lawsuit was thrown out of court. Now, on Friday the 13th, President Clinton has agreed to pay, even though a federal judge has ruled that her claim is without legal merit. Tonight, Susan McMillan, who has been at Jones's side as her friend and advisor, was asked if Jones considers a settlement a victory. Answer, you bet. Here are the details of the settlement. Bill Clinton pays Paula Jones $850,000. There is no admission of guilt. Both sides asked the federal court to drop the Jones appeal to reinstate her case. It is unclear who gets the money. Jones has legal bills of nearly $2.5 million, but lawyers have agreed to settle for less. Tonight, Mr. Clinton's lawyer said the president settled because he is not prepared to spend one more hour on this matter. Now, all he has to worry about is impeachment. And
Phil, as we reported earlier, there have been late developments on that score as well. CBS News White House correspondent Scott Pelley is tracking what's next in the impeach the president part of the story. Scott?
Dan, in a surprise development, Ken Starr has sent new evidence to the House today in the impeachment of the president investigation. Our sources tell us that the new material does not allege another impeachable offense by Mr. Clinton, but rather adds to Starr's contention that the president committed perjury and obstruction of justice.
The new evidence concerns Kathleen Willey, the White House volunteer who claimed that Mr. Clinton forced himself on her in the Oval Office.
He touched my breast with his hand, and I was just startled.
Part of the Willey investigation centers on whether Mr. Clinton committed perjury in his grand jury testimony.
Mr. President, in fact, on that day, you did make sexual advances on Kathleen Willey. Is that not correct?
That's false.
Starr also investigated whether there was a conspiracy to intimidate Willey. The FBI looked into whether private investigators were hired to harass her. Starr also moved today on a completely separate investigation. The First Family's close friend, Webster Hubbell, was indicted on fraud charges arising from the Whitewater case, an investigation of a bankrupt Arkansas savings and loan.
That I don't know of any wrongdoing on behalf of the First Lady or the President, and nothing the independent counsel can do to me is going to make me lie about them.
Starr's investigators have long believed that Hubbell knows more than he's telling about the involvement of Mr. and Mrs. Clinton in the failed land deals that ultimately cost taxpayers about $60 million. Hubbell's been indicted twice before and has served more than a year in prison in a previous Starr investigation. Dan?
Scott Pelley live at the White House. Still to come on the CBS Evening News. Doubts and questions about a radical new cancer treatment, the baby boom inheritance, and how some have lost it without even knowing it, and a year of living dangerously in the Indonesian struggle for democracy.
When you get heartburn, indigestion, and pain, don't get these to relieve all your symptoms. When pain this bad grabs you, don't grab these for complete or fast relief. Problems this bad need the 100% solution. Alka-Seltzer, the only one with effervescent power to speed relief and medicines for all your symptoms. Heartburn and pain are no problem with the 100% solution. Alka-Seltzer. And for your worst gas pain, try Alka-Seltzer Gas Relief Liquid Soft Gels.
Sorry I'm late. I was at my doctor and... Oh, did you ask her about the things you've been reading about menopause? I did. She said...
It's important to consider menopause and the consequences of its associated estrogen loss.
You mean like hot flashes? Hot flashes and night sweats, but other things too, like vaginal dryness. It can interfere with intimacy.
And osteoporosis. I know that menopause increases our risk of fractures.
Dr. Hartman also said...
Studies show that menopause contributes to heart disease in women. Additional ongoing studies are investigating the connection between menopause and Alzheimer's disease, colon cancer, blindness, and tooth loss.
I had no idea. My doctor and I decided to stick with a program we've agreed on for years. I should speak to my doctor.
When considering menopause, consider the entire body of evidence. Speak to your doctor about what you can do to help protect your health during and after menopause.
There are some frightening reminders tonight of the brutal 1989 violence in China's Tiananmen Square. Once again, students in Asia are leading a fight for freedom and democracy. This time, the scene is Indonesia, and once again, students are dying for their cause. At least 9 people killed today by Indonesian troops firing rubber bullets. CBS's Barry Peterson was in the middle of today's violence in Indonesia's capital city.
Through Jakarta's main business district, on streets usually traveled by bankers and businessmen, clashes raged all afternoon. Students facing off against soldiers firing blanks or rubber-tipped bullets. The students were joined by thousands of protesters angry about the collapse of this country's economy, an army of hungry and desperate people growing larger every day. One Indonesian opposition leader warned that the country seems on the brink of civil war. It seemed that way, too, with dozens wounded. Students are demanding more reforms from a special parliamentary meeting this week. Today, making some concessions to student pressure, they issued new rules for snap elections next spring. It was student protest and widespread rioting last May that ended President Suharto's 32-year autocratic reign. There was none of the burning or looting of previous riots. But there was all of the confrontation, all of the anger.
Indonesia's top general vowed that his army would take control of the streets and put what he called this mob down. Tonight, there was no doubt he had every intention of carrying out that vow.
It's a grim backdrop for President Clinton's visit to Asia next week, to a region hoping American leadership can help restore shattered economies and ease political turmoil, and bring countries like Indonesia back from the brink. Barry Peterson, CBS News, Jakarta.
There is concern that Asia's economic contagion could spread to Latin America, posing even more danger to the world's economy. But today, a big step designed to prevent that. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, approved $42 billion worth of loans to Brazil, the biggest economy in Latin America. One of Brazil's biggest trading partners is the United States, which will provide up to $5 billion. Straight ahead here on CBS, the government's findings about what many viewed as the new hope for a magic bullet against cancer.
Charlie, you know how we're always trying to find something to watch?
Yeah?
Well, now we can get Primestar satellite TV installed for just $49.
Oh. $49? This could be the greatest thing that ever happened to us.
$49 installed, Chuck. Think of the movies.
Movies? Chuck, think of the sports. Let's get it. Okay. He's gonna get it. All right.
Right now, get Primestar installed for just $49. Call 1-800-PRIME-STAR or visit your local Radio Shack.
On the road again. Just can't wait to get on the road again. The life I love is making music with my friends. And I can't wait to get on the road again. On the road again. Going places that I've never been. Seeing things that I may never see again. I can't wait to get on the road again.
Okay, and stretch. And bend. And stretch.
Unlike ordinary pickles, Clausen just won't bend.
Everybody, stretch and bend.
When it comes to taste, we make them cold and keep them cold. So enjoy the cold snap of Clausen.
Dr. Scholl's next stop, San Francisco.
Let's talk about feet. I do have corns. I've tried Band-Aids. They don't get rid of the corn. This is Dr. Scholl's Cushland Gel Corn Removers. The Cushland Gel relieves the pain.
The medicated disc removes the corn.
It just feels so much better.
Well, my work here is done.
An internal investigation into the death of Richard Dow reveals that many witnesses changed their stories. That story in 15 minutes on KOIN 6 News at 6.
An update now on this hope-inspiring, headline-grabbing cancer treatment news from last May. Namely, a Harvard researcher's reported discovery of new cancer killers that totally eliminated malignant tumors in mice. Fast forward from May to today. The National Cancer Institute now says its own test failed to reproduce those remarkable cures, and human tests cannot begin. We turn now to our CBS News medical consultant, Dr. Bernadine Healy of Ohio State University. So, Doctor, was this talk of a cancer cure here a false alarm?
Well, Dan, I think it's too early to tell. It's not uncommon for one laboratory to have trouble having their work repeated by another laboratory, particularly when this research is very, very complicated. But, Dan, the clock is ticking, and it's important that this research either be confirmed or explained, or it could be discredited.
Well, can this line of research still lead somewhere important?
Well, the overall line of research, choking off cancer cells by knocking off their blood supply, is extremely powerful. There are many labs across the country that are working on very similar drugs that are actually further along in testing. So this is wonderful research. It will continue. But I think it's very important that people realize that it's not going to be one single magic bullet that's going to knock out cancer. Cancer is entirely too clever.
Dr. Bernadine Healy with context and perspective on this important story. Thanks. Science news now on a global scale. Turns out that today, the day after the U.S. signed the international treaty to curb global warming, U.S. climate experts are just in with temperature readings for October. The finding, October is the first and only month all this year not to be the hottest ever on record. At least 8 more inches of rain fell over southeast Texas tonight, setting off the second round of serious flooding there in a matter of weeks. Dozens of homes were waterlogged. Schools were closed in counties just north of Houston.
The scratchy throat he left with this morning is raw, so sore it hurts to swallow. Teddy Gibbs toughs it out through a cough that gets more and more ragged. Now, he's desperate for relief. New Theraflu sore throat and cough. With the first sip of that soothing cherry hot liquid, he feels comfort on contact. Soon he feels the soreness melting away. His cough calmed. New maximum strength Theraflu sore throat and cough. Instant comfort, powerful relief.
Movies have taken us places beyond our imagination. Now you can take those movies to places you never thought possible. Introducing the Silhouette Premier from Oldsmobile, the first minivan with a video entertainment system built right in. It gives motion pictures a whole new meaning. The Silhouette Premier, only from Oldsmobile.
At Boston Market, you can get the chicken America loves and the deal America wants. Now you can buy a whole chicken at Boston Market for only $5.99 and great side items starting at just 99 cents. So tonight, take home the chicken America loves, only at Boston Market.
In clinical studies, Bengay significantly reduced minor arthritis pain, increasing range of motion and flexibility. And now for your aches and pains, get the heating relief of Ultra Strength Bengay with 3 pain relievers. It's medicine for your moving parts.
My dad always said, as soon as I get a computer, you'll come out with something better. So to make sure people like Dad have the latest computer, we invented YourWare, technology that grows with you. For just $49.95 a month, you can buy a computer with an Intel Pentium 2 processor, internet access, and in 2 years, you can trade it in toward the purchase of a new one. What do you call this thing? YourWare. Call 1-800-GATEWAY, and let's talk about YourWare.
The Bengals battle the NFC's top team, the Vikings. Or the Seahawks collide with the Raiders' rip-roaring defense. The NFL on CBS.
Tonight's Eye on America is the second of our two-part series on what is happening to the multi-trillion-dollar fortune the baby boom generation is now inheriting from its parents, the World War II generation. Last night, we saw how a family business can wind up dividing brothers and sisters. Tonight, Ray Brady has the story of how a family's hard-earned wealth can disappear entirely when it's entrusted in the wrong hands.
When she taped this deposition against her accountant, Sue Bright was dying.
I've been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and it may be terminal within 3 months.
Her accountant and his sons had persuaded her to invest the money that would have gone to her heirs, $100,000, in a highly questionable company.
And he assured me that this was safe.
But it wasn't.
This company was run by 5 or 6 people.
Oregon attorney Robert Banks represented Sue Bright.
They went out and rented themselves a bunch of fancy offices, bought a lot of fancy furniture, and traveled around the world ostensibly for business purposes. And Mrs. Bright never saw her $100,000 again.
Neither did her 2 sons.
You can look for more cases like this to happen. With the World War II generation gradually dying off, some $155 billion a year in inheritances is moving from them to the baby boomers, a tempting target for the dishonest, whether they be lawyers, financial advisors, or just plain friends.
Tell me about it, says Ken Monier. Ken's father gave his lawyer, a close friend, sole power of attorney over his estate, so no one had the legal power to stop anything the lawyer did.
First-class crook.
As a result, all Ken inherited was this worthless pile of papers. They show that the lawyer sold Ken's father's blue-chip stocks and invested in speculations like...
This is Tree Corporation of America.
The company's prospectus says it's a farm to grow trees for golf courses.
I never heard of a business that grew trees especially for golf courses.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Ken claims his father lost $500,000 on that without even knowing it.
This is the 4.74 acres.
Then the lawyer bought this land. It was supposed to become the retail outlet for those golf course trees.
You know, if you're handling the estate for an 87-year-old man, you don't put it in real estate. That's a slow investment to pay off.
That's true.
Florida attorney William Johnson, the senior Monier's attorney, went to jail for bilking the Moniers and 47 others out of $10 million.
How much did your family lose altogether in all this?
The district attorney's office, Pinellas County, came up with $1.7 million.
Worse, that loss might have been avoided if Ken's dad had listened to him.
You never under any conditions give an attorney complete power of attorney to the estate.
That's advice that might have saved Ken a lot of heartache and money. The more important lesson, it's easy to lose in a moment what it took a lifetime to build. In St. Petersburg, Florida, I'm Ray Brady for Eye on America.
And update now on our CBS story of last week about a New Jersey family who found a treasure in their attic. It was the ball Babe Ruth hit for the first home run at Yankee Stadium 75 years ago. Well, in a way, that family has now hit the ball out of the park themselves. The prize ball sold at auction for a record, more than $126,000.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Fortunately, there's Nasonex nasal spray, an effective nasal allergy prescription medicine taken once a day that relieves sneezing, itchy runny nose, and congestion, indoors and out. Now that's wonderful. Nasonex, what good days are like every day. The most common side effects were headache, viral infections, sore throat, nosebleeds, and coughing.
If you're a woman with a bladder control problem, call this number to receive free samples of A&D Personal Care, an incredible new line of products that eliminate urine odor on contact, plus valuable information that'll help you live your life the way you want to.
When we were traveling cross country, we stopped at a place. They had the business channel. We started watching, and the market was going down, and we said, there are these stocks we wanted to buy, and from the road we called up.
called Schwab because we didn't have a phone modem in the motorhome, so we couldn't trade online. Where were we?
Utah.
Utah.
We're in Utah.
On a payphone, talking to Schwab,
Trying to get.
buying the stocks. There was a feeling of exhilaration. Hey, we've done it. You've committed to it. Then we got back in the motorhome and traveled on our way.
And those purchases have
done very well.
We asked elementary school teachers to try Motrin IB instead of Advil.
This is the place for headaches.
I got a real whopper of a headache right now.
We thought this would be the perfect place to try Motrin IB.
I get aches and pains all day long.
Nothing, not even Advil, has been proven to work better than Motrin IB.
Okay.
Doctors have prescribed the medicine in Motrin IB more than any other pain reliever.
My headache is gone.
Feel better. Beautiful.
Now it's Motrin IB, spoken here.
I could teach another 20 years this stuff. Maybe not.
With an impending U.S. military attack against Iraq, we go back to Baghdad live and CBS News correspondent Alan Pizzi. Alan, any signs of military preparations there?
Absolutely none, Dan. If there's troops around, they're conspicuous by their absence. And in this neighborhood, which contains a lot of government buildings, the roofs are usually bristling with anti-aircraft guns. They're either gone or under cover. In the week we've been here, the only one we've seen pointing upwards is on the building where I'm standing. And in the week we've been here, Dan, I haven't even seen a soldier near it.
Alan Pizzi in Baghdad. We go live to the White House and CBS News correspondent Scott Pelley. Scott, the president's made the decision. The strike is imminent. What are the chances he'll cancel this scheduled to begin tomorrow Asia trip to watch the Iraq situation?
Well, Dan, tonight preparations are underway to send the vice president. Sources tell us that the vice president's staff asked for and received the briefing books for the trip. We're also told that the Secret Service has been told that they should prepare to take the vice president. No details yet on whether a final decision has been made, but clearly the White House is preparing to go either way, even at the last minute.
Thanks, Scott. This has been an extraordinary day on the cusp of major developments yet to come. So many stories building for months are converging and coming to a head now. The impending U.S. military strike against Saddam Hussein at any hour. Paula Jones settling her case against the president for money but no apology. With Congress's impeach the president inquiry later this month, Ken Starr unloads more evidence and re-indicts Webb Hubbell, the former Justice Department official, Clinton family friend, and Hillary Clinton's former law partner in Arkansas. And you, the American public, are at the center of it. And we, here at CBS News and this CBS station, will be here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to fit the pieces together, gather the facts, put them in context as it happens. That's part of our world tonight. Now, here's the great Mike Wallace with a look ahead at Sunday's 60 Minutes.
If it came as a surprise that he blamed a psychiatrist for the murders he committed, the real surprise was that a jury bought it. Also meet some surprising nuns who, when they're not praying, are playing the stock market. 60 Minutes, Sunday.
And over the weekend, if anything breaks on the U.S.-Iraq story, we'll break in to tell you about it. Dan Rather reporting for the CBS Evening News. Good night.
Showdown in the Gulf. We'll have complete, in-depth, up-to-the-minute coverage of events in this fast-moving story Monday. Also, take a look at these Harleys. They're some of today's hottest targets for thieves. How did one city's easy riders become such easy marks? Eye on America on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
CBS.com for news 24 hours a day. Experience you can trust. CBS News.